What happens when grief brings two strangers closer than they ever imagined? Claire sat alone in the old farmhouse in Vermont, watching the snow fall gently outside the window. Everything around her felt too quiet. It's a kind of quiet that doesn't feel peaceful but lonely. Her husband, Richard, had passed away just a few weeks before Thanksgiving, and the house hadn't been the same since. No music, no laughter, no warm voice calling her name, just silence and memories. She and Richard had been married for 6 years. It was a second marriage for both of them. He was kind, mature, and had a calming presence that made her feel safe. Claire had thought she would grow old with him. But life had other plans. Cancer took him too quickly. One month he was gardening in the backyard, and the next she was standing by his hospital bed, holding his hand as he took his final breath. Since then, Claire had been going through the motions. Wake up, make coffee, sit in the same spot by the window. She tried to cook sometimes, but she barely touched her food. The holidays were near, but she had no plans, no one to share them with. No decorations, no tree, just a heavy feeling in her chest that didn't go away. Then came a surprise. Jason, Richard's son from his first marriage, called her. Claire was shocked. Jason had never been very close to her. He lived in Boston, worked long hours, and seemed to keep his distance. When she and Richard got married, Jason had been polite but distant. He visited only once or twice a year. After Richard passed, Jason came to the funeral, said a few kind words, and left. Claire hadn't heard from him since. But now, 2 days before Christmas, he called. "Hi, Claire. I was wondering if I could come visit for the weekend," he said. His voice calm but uncertain. Claire hesitated. "Of course. Yes, you can." He paused for a second. "I just thought we could talk. Maybe spend the holidays together." After the call, Claire stood in the kitchen, still holding the phone. Her heart was confused. Why now? What did he want? What did he want? Did he just feel sorry for her? Or did he miss his father and want to feel close to him again? Later that evening, Claire found herself looking through her closet. She hadn't cared about her appearance for weeks. But now, she brushed out her long auburn hair slowly, thinking about the past. She caught a reflection in the mirror. Tired eyes, soft lines on her face, and a quiet sadness. For some reason, she picked up her red lipstick and applied it. She hadn't worn it in months. She didn't even know why she did it. Maybe she just wanted to feel like herself again. Or maybe part of her wanted to feel seen. The night before Jason's visit was filled with nervous thoughts. She remembered little things about him, how he never liked onions, how he used to sit by the fire with a book, how he and Richard would sometimes talk for hours about sports and life. Claire also remembered how hard it had been to connect with him. He never opened up much, never let her in. Still, he was coming, and that meant something. The next morning, the snow continued to fall. Claire cleaned the house slowly, lit a few candles, and made sure there was food in the fridge. She didn't know what Jason expected. She didn't know what she expected. But deep down, she hoped for something. Maybe comfort, maybe connection, maybe just not feeling so alone for a little while. The sound of a car pulling up made her heart jump. She walked to the front door, her hands cold and shaking slightly. When Jason stepped in, the cold air followed him. Snowflakes clung to his hair. He looked older than she remembered, more tired, but his eyes were softer. He hugged her, not just a quick, polite hug, but a long one. A real one. "It's good to see you," he said quietly. Claire felt something inside her begin to thaw. They unpacked his things and talked for a few minutes, their words slow and careful, like two people walking across ice. That night, they made dinner together. She cooked grilled salmon and rosemary potatoes, just like she used to for Richard. Jason set the table, and for the first time in many weeks, the house felt a little warmer, a little more alive. After dinner, they sat at the kitchen table and drank coffee. Jason looked around the house with a soft expression. "Dad used to say you made the best coffee in Vermont," he said with a small smile. Claire laughed gently. He was sweet. Jason nodded. He was lucky. "I don't think I ever told you that." They kept talking slowly, opening up. Jason told her he hadn't known how to face her after his father died. He said it felt wrong to come back to the house without his dad in it. But something pulled him back. Something told him she might need him, and maybe he needed her too. Claire listened, and with every word, the silence that had filled her heart began to fade. That night, as she stood in the hallway before going to bed, Jason looked at her. really looked. "You've always been more than just my stepmother, Claire," he said softly. "I hope you know that." Then he walked upstairs, leaving Claire standing there, her heart beating louder than it had in a very long time. And for the first time in weeks, the house didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like something was beginning. Something quiet, something real. Jason arrived just before sunset the next day. The snow had picked up again, swirling gently around him as he stepped out of his car, carrying a small overnight bag. Claire opened the front door, and for a second, neither of them said anything. They just looked at each other. He looked different older somehow, more serious, but there was something softer in his eyes, something warmer than she remembered. Claire smiled, though her heart was still a little unsure. "Hi," she said. Jason stepped forward and hugged her again, just like the day before. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't forced. It was steady, and it lingered for a moment longer than she expected. "It's good to be here," he said. "I'm glad you came," she replied. Inside, the house felt cozier than it had in weeks. Claire had lit the fireplace earlier, and the smell of rosemary filled the air from the potatoes she had started roasting. Jason took off his coat and walked through the living room, looking around quietly. "Everything's the same," he said. "Even his chair is still there." "I couldn't move it," Claire whispered. "I tried, but I just couldn't." Jason gave her a gentle look, and something in that moment passed between them. Something wordless, but real. Understanding, loss, connection. They moved into the kitchen and began making dinner together. Claire had prepared grilled salmon, just like she used to make for Richard. Jason washed the vegetables, set the table, and poured 2 glasses of wine. They didn't talk too much at first, just small, simple things. But even the small talk felt comforting. It felt like they were slowly learning how to be around each other again. Dinner was quiet but warm. The food was good, but the company was what mattered most. Claire found herself watching Jason more than once. How he listened, how he smiled at her stories, how his eyes softened when she spoke about Richard. After the plates were cleared, Jason leaned back in his chair, looking thoughtful. "You know," he said, "Dad used to tell me that the best moments of his life happened in this kitchen with you." Claire looked down, her eyes misting. "He said that?" Jason nodded. "Yeah. A few times, actually. I didn't really understand what he meant back then, but now I think I do." They moved into the living room and sat near the fire, each holding a cup of coffee. The room glowed softly with firelight, and for a while they just sat in silence watching the flames. Then Jason spoke again. "I need to say something." Claire turned to him. "I didn't come here just to visit," he said. "I came because I've been carrying something for a long time. About you, about Dad, about all of it." Claire stayed quiet, letting him speak. "When he first told me he was dating you, I didn't take it well. I felt like he was replacing my mom." Even though she had moved on and I knew he deserved happiness, it still hurt. "I wasn't fair to you. I stayed distant. I held back. But then I saw how you took care of him, especially near the end. You were everything to him." Claire's eyes filled with tears. "I loved him," she said quietly. "I know," Jason said. "And that's what changed everything for me. Watching you two together, especially when he got sick, it opened my eyes. I saw how real it was, how deep. And after he passed, I tried to move on. But I kept thinking about you, wondering how you were doing, worrying about you, missing you in a strange way. I didn't understand it." Claire looked at him carefully. Her heart was beating fast now, and she didn't quite know what to say. There was something in Jason's eyes, something honest, maybe even vulnerable. "I didn't just come here to say goodbye to Dad again," he said softly. "I came here to see you." To really see you. Claire's breath caught. The words felt heavy but gentle, like a door creaking open in her heart. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "You don't have to say anything," he replied. "I just needed you to know." They sat there for a long time, the fire crackling beside them. Claire didn't know what this meant. She didn't know how to feel. But she did feel something she hadn't felt in months. Not grief, not sadness, something else. A warmth, a spark, a quiet fluttering in her chest. Later, as they stood in the hallway before heading to bed, Jason turned to her again. "You've always been more than just my stepmother, Claire," he said. "I hope you know that." He didn't wait for her to answer. He simply gave her a small smile and walked upstairs. Claire stood frozen for a moment, the soft glow from the hallway light wrapping around her like a blanket. Her hands trembled just a little, and her heart felt heavy, but not in a painful way. It felt full. There were no clear answers yet. No perfect way to understand everything that was happening, but for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel numb. She felt seen. And even though the night was quiet, the silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like something was beginning, something real, something she hadn't expected, maybe even something worth holding on to. The next morning, Claire woke up earlier than usual. The sky outside was still a soft gray, and the snow had covered everything in a thick white blanket. The house was quiet, but not the same kind of quiet she had grown used to. This quiet felt calm, peaceful, even comforting. She walked into the kitchen to start the coffee, and that's when she saw it. There on the counter was a letter, folded neatly with her name written on the front in Jason's handwriting. Her heart skipped a beat. She stared at it for a moment, unsure if she should open it right away or wait. But curiosity and something deeper told her to read it. She sat at the kitchen table, unfolded the letter, and began to read. Claire, last night I couldn't say everything I wanted to. Maybe I'm still figuring it out. But I need you to know that you mattered to Dad. You mattered to me too, more than I ever let on. I used to think I was angry that he married again. But the truth is, I was jealous. Jealous that someone made him that happy. And it wasn't my mom. I didn't realize it back then, but I carried that jealousy into every moment I spent around you. I stayed distant, cold even, and I'm sorry. But watching you take care of him when he was sick, watching how you stayed strong when everything was falling apart, it changed me. I saw who you really are, and I saw how much you loved him, how much you still do. I came back here not just to honor him. I came back for you. I don't know what this is or what it could be, but I needed to be near you again. I needed you to know that I see you now, not just as my father's wife, but as a woman I care about. Jason Claire let the letter fall into her lap as her eyes filled with tears. She wasn't even sure what she was feeling. A mix of surprise, confusion, longing, and something else she couldn't name yet. She sat there in silence for a while, letting the words sink in. No one had spoken to her like that in a long time. With honesty, with emotion, with care. She had expected Jason's visit to be difficult, maybe even awkward. But instead, it had brought warmth, healing, and now this letter, so personal, so raw. It felt like a door had opened between them. And just as she wiped her eyes, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned around. Jason stood in the kitchen doorway. He looked nervous, like he wasn't sure if he should have come in. His eyes searched her face. I meant every word, he said gently. But if I've crossed a line, I'll leave. I didn't come here to make things harder for you. Claire shook her head slowly. You didn't cross a line, she whispered. You just opened a door I didn't know I'd locked. They looked at each other for a moment, and something unspoken passed between them, soft and tender. They spent the day together, talking more than they had in all the years before. Jason helped her bring in firewood, and they cooked lunch together like old friends, or maybe something more. He told her about his life in Boston, his work, his failed relationships, the loneliness he never admitted to anyone else. And she told him about her early years with Richard, about her dreams, her fears, and how quiet the house had become without love in it. There were still pauses, quiet spaces where their eyes did most of the talking, but those silences felt full, not empty. Later that evening after dinner, they sat in the living room by the fireplace. The lights were dim. The fire crackled gently, and shadows danced on the walls. Claire glanced at Jason beside her. I didn't expect this, she said. Me neither, he replied. But it feels like something that was supposed to happen, even if we didn't see it coming. Claire gave a soft smile. It scares me a little. Me too, he said. But sometimes the scariest things are the most real. He didn't touch her, didn't move closer. He simply sat with her, steady and present. And in that quiet room, filled with flickering light and deep emotion, Claire realized something. Her heart, once frozen by grief, was starting to thaw. She didn't know where things would go. She didn't even know what she truly wanted yet. But she felt hope, and that was more than she'd felt in a long time. Later that night, they said goodnight again in the hallway. Jason didn't say much, just a soft sleep well and a glance that lingered a few seconds too long. Claire climbed into bed and lay staring at the ceiling. Her fingers still tingled from holding the letter. Her chest felt warm and full and a little unsteady. She was still grieving, still healing, but something new had entered her life. Not to replace the love she had lost, but to remind her that love could take many shapes. That sometimes it could come from the most unexpected places. And that maybe, just maybe, it was okay to let it in. The morning sun peeked through the frosted windows, casting a soft golden glow across the living room. Claire stood by the fireplace, holding a warm cup of tea in her hands. Her mind was still spinning with everything that had happened over the last 2 days. The letter, the quiet talks, the gentle closeness between her and Jason. It all felt like a dream she hadn't expected and wasn't sure she deserved. She hadn't felt like this in a long time. There was still grief, yes. The pain of losing Richard hadn't gone away. But now something else was rising through the sadness. Something gentle and alive, like a spring flower pushing up through the snow. Something she thought her heart had forgotten how to feel. Jason walked in, rubbing sleep from his eyes. His hair was messy, and his smile was a little shy. Claire smiled back, surprised at how natural it felt. "Merry Christmas," he said softly. "Merry Christmas," she replied. They exchanged a quiet hug, and it lingered for a second longer than either of them expected. There was comfort in that closeness. No pressure, no rush, just warmth. After breakfast, Jason disappeared upstairs and came back down holding a small box wrapped in silver paper. "I wasn't sure if I should give this to you," he said, placing the box in her hands. "But I bought it a few weeks ago. Something told me you'd need it." Claire raised her eyebrows gently, curious. "Can I open it now?" He nodded, watching her closely. She unwrapped the box slowly and found a snow globe inside. Inside the glass dome, a small white farmhouse sat nestled among pine trees. It looked almost exactly like their home. Claire turned the globe over, and soft flakes of snow danced inside the glass. The base of the globe had an inscription that made her heart stop for a second. "Where love remains, no one is truly gone." Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. She looked up at Jason, her throat tight. "I saw it in a little shop downtown," he said. "I walked past it 3 times before I finally went in. I didn't know why until now." Claire pressed the globe to her chest. "Thank you," she whispered. This means so much more than you know." Jason looked like he wanted to say more, but he didn't. Instead, he sat beside her. Close enough for their shoulders to touch. They spent the rest of the day cooking together, listening to soft music, and sharing quiet stories about Richard. It was the first time in weeks that Claire didn't feel like breaking down when his name came up. With Jason there, the memories felt lighter, full of love, not just pain. That evening, snow began to fall again. Big, fluffy flakes covered the world in soft white silence. They stood by the window, side by side, watching it fall. Jason turned to her. "I should head back to Boston tomorrow." Claire's heart sank just a little, though she knew he had his own life to return to. "Of course," she said softly. "You've been here longer than I expected." "I didn't want to leave too soon," he said. "It just felt right to stay." Claire looked at him, her emotions rising again. "I'm glad you did." "Oh." He stepped closer, his voice quieter now. "Claire, I know this is complicated. I know we're both still healing. I know I don't want to confuse anything or push you into something you're not ready for." She held her breath, watching him carefully. "But I need to be honest. I feel something with you, something real, and it didn't start just yesterday. It's been building quietly for a long time. I pushed it away because I didn't understand it, because I was scared of what it meant." Claire's eyes filled with tears again. But she didn't look away. "Sees you." "I'm not saying I know what happens next," Jason continued, "but I want to stay connected. I want to visit again. I want to write, call, whatever you'll let me do." Claire set her cup down and stepped a little closer. Her hands were shaking. "I'm scared too," she whispered. scared of letting go, 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 scared of holding on. But when you're here, I don't feel alone anymore, and I don't feel guilty for smiling. Jason looked into her eyes with a softness that made her chest ache. Then let's just take it one step at a time. No pressure, no label, just two people who care about each other finding their way. Claire nodded. I'd like that. There was a pause, a breath between them. Then slowly, carefully, Jason reached out and took her hand. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't bold. It was gentle. Honest, she held his hand back. And in that moment, something shifted. Not just between them, but inside her. She felt a kind of peace she hadn't known in months. Not because her grief had ended, but because someone was finally standing with her in it, not trying to fix it, just holding space for it. And for her. Later that night, they sat by the fire again, but this time closer. Her head rested on his shoulder, and his arm wrapped around her, gently, gently. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. The silence said enough. And as the snow fell softly outside, the warmth inside the house grew stronger. Not just from the fire, but from something blooming quietly between them. Something honest, something romantic, something unexpected, but deeply real. A new beginning, born from sorrow, shaped by kindness, and carried gently in two healing hearts.